June 10th, 1900, Volume 3, The Office of Victim, Chastisements. It seems to me that my adorable Jesus continues to have justice by pouring a little bit upon me and the rest upon people. This morning especially, when I found myself with Jesus, my soul was tormented in seeing the torture of his most sweet heart in chastising the creatures. The state of suffering Jesus was in was such that he did nothing but let out continuous moans. He had a thick crown of thorns on his head, all sunken into his flesh, to the point that his head seemed a block of thorns. So to relieve him a little bit, I said to him, "Tell me, my good, what is it that you are suffering so much? Allow me to remove these thorns that torment you not a little." But Jesus did not answer me. Even more, he did not even listen to what I was saying. So I began to remove those thorns one by one, and then I placed them on my head. Now, while I was doing this, I saw that somewhere far away there was to be an earthquake, which would make a slaughter of people. Then Jesus disappeared from me, and I returned inside myself, but with greatest affliction, thinking of the suffering state of Jesus and of the tragedies of miserable humanity. June 10th, 1904, Volume 6, The Beauty of Man and His Blindness with Regard to Himself. Continuing in my usual state, my adorable Jesus came for just a little, all sad and sorrowful, and he told me, "Ah, my daughter, if man knew himself, oh, how careful he would be not to become stained. In fact, his beauty, his nobility, his strikingness are such and so great that he encompasses all the beauties and varieties of created things within himself. And this because all other things of nature had been created to serve man, and man was to be superior to all of them. So in order to be superior, he had to encompass all the qualities of the other created things within himself. Not only this, but since the other things had been created for man, and man for God alone, and for his delight, as a consequence, he was not only to encompass all creation within himself, but he was to surpass it to the point of receiving the image of the supreme majesty within himself. But in spite of all this, heedless of all these goods, man does nothing but dirty himself with the ugliest filth." And he disappeared. I understood that it happens to us as to a poor woman who received a garment woven with gold and enriched with gems and precious pearls. But since she knows little about these things and does not know their value, she keeps the garment exposed to dust. She easily lets it get dirty with mud, and she holds it as she would a rough and inexpensive dress. So much so that if it is taken away from her, she suffers little or no displeasure. Such is our blindness with regard to ourselves. June 10th, 1920, Volume 12, The Humanity of our Lord Lived Suspended in the Air. For one who lives in the divine will, whatever it does, the soul does. I was feeling very afflicted and all alone, with no support from anyone. And my sweet Jesus clasped me in his arms, lifting me up in the air, and told me, "My daughter, when my humanity lived on earth, it lived suspended halfway between heaven and earth, having the whole earth under myself and the whole heaven above myself. And by living in this way, I tried to draw the whole earth and the whole heaven within me, to make of them one single thing. If I had wanted to live at the earth's level, I could not have drawn everything within me, but only a few points at the most. It is true that it cost me much to live suspended in the air. I had no place and nobody on which to lean, and only strictly necessary things were given to my humanity. For the rest, I was always alone and with no comfort. However, this was necessary. First, because of the nobility of my person, to whom it did not befit living down below with vile and faulty human supports. Second, because of the great office of redemption, which had to have supremacy over everything. Therefore it befitted me to live up high, above everyone. Now the ones whom I call to my likeness, I place in the same conditions in which I placed my own humanity. Therefore I myself am your support. My own arms are that which sustains you, and as I make you live in my arms, suspended in the air, only the things which are strictly necessary can reach you. For one who lives in my will, detached from everyone, all for me, anything more than strict necessities are vile things, and degrading herself from her nobility. And if human supports are given to her, she senses the stink of the human, and she herself drives them away. Then he added, as soon as the soul enters my will, her volition remains bound with my eternal volition. And even if she does not think about it, since her will has been bound to mine, whatever my will does, hers does as well, and together with me she runs for the good of all. June 10th, 1923, Volume 15, The Office of Victim and What It Means to be Deposed from It. In order to live in the divine will, the door through which to enter is the humanity of Jesus. I was lamenting to my sweet Jesus about his privations, and I thought to myself, who knows what is the reason why he is not coming? And if it is true, as sometimes he made me understand, that he does not come because of the chastisements, since, given the state of victim in which he keeps me, if he comes, having to communicate pains to me because of the office I occupy, he feels his arms being broken. And since justice wants to punish as the creature forces it to do so, this is why he does not come. So if this is the case, then he should remove me from the state of victim. As long as he comes, I care little about everything else. What I care about is Jesus, my life, my all. Everything else is nothing for me. Now, while I was thinking of this and other things, my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior and surrounding my neck with his arm, told me, "My daughter, what are you saying? Deposing you from your office? You do not know what it means to lose dominion, to lose the right to command, to no longer be able to dispose of anything. In fact, when someone is in office, he can always dispose. If he is a judge, he can judge. He has the right to issue a condemnation and also to absolve. It may be that for days or weeks he does not exercise his office because the occasions are lacking. But in spite of this, he receives his pay, maintains his rights, and as guilty or righteous people present themselves, he is at his post of judge and can defend and condemn. But if he is deposed, he loses all his rights and is reduced to inability. And so with all other offices. Therefore content yourself with being without me sometimes, rather than wanting to be deposed from your office. Otherwise, you will also lose the right of having the deserved scourges be held back in part. And if it seems to you that because of the lack of pains of a few days you do nothing, to remain in office is always something. And what you do not do one day, as I come to you and find you in office, you can do on another day. But this is not all. It is the least part. The most essential is that in order to live in my will, the door through which to enter, the first link of connection, is my humanity. My humanity was indeed the first and true victim which, because of the office given to me by my celestial Father, lived as sacrificed and completely crucified in the divine will. And by virtue of the power of my eternal volition, it was able to multiply my life for all and for each one. And just as by the power of one single fiat I multiplied so many created things, giving to each creature the right to make them her own, in the same way the power of my will multiplied one single life, so that each one might have me for himself alone, as help, as defense, as refuge, however he wanted me. This is all the greatness, the good, the all, the infinite distance between living in my will and living in a different way, even good and holy. The multiplication of one act into as many acts as one wants, enough for as many as want to make use of them. Now, if I deposed you from your office, not only would you not occupy my office on earth, since you would not be in my humanity, which, even though it did much, in betraying so much good for man, yet did not take the rights, the honor, the decorum away from my justice, when it would require to punish man justly. Rather, I would resign myself. But in lacking the link of connection, you would not be able to live in my will. You would lose dominion. Your acts would become simple intentions. And when you say, "My Jesus, in your will I love you, I bless you, I thank you for all. I feel sorrow for each offense," and so forth, your acts would not hover over each human act to become act of each human act, love for each love that creatures should give me. You would not follow all my acts which are present in my will. You would remain behind. They would be pious intentions at most, which can do some good, but not acts for all, which may give life and contain the power of our creative will. And yet, how many times you tell me, "Since you have called me into your will, do not leave me behind. O Jesus, let it be so that together with you I may follow the acts of creation, to requite you for the love of all created things, as well as those of redemption and of sanctification, so that wherever your acts and your love are present, there may be the requital of mine." And now you want me to leave you behind? I remained confused and did not know what to answer. Good Jesus disposes as he best pleases, and everything for his glory. June 10th, 1924, Volume 17. How one who lives in the divine will must enclose everything. How the divine will is origin, means, and end. This morning, having received Holy Communion as usual, I was saying to my dear Jesus, "My sweet life, I do not want to be alone when I am with you, but I want everything and everyone together with me. And not only do I want the crown of all your children, but I also want the crown of all things created by you, so that together with me, in the endlessness of your most holy will, in which I find everything, prostrate at your feet altogether, we may adore you, thank you, bless you. In the meantime, I saw all created things running around to surround Jesus in order for each to pay its homage to him. And I added, "Do you see, my love, how beautiful your works are? How the sun, opening its way with its rays, while prostrating itself to adore you, rises up to you to embrace you and kiss you? How the stars, forming a crown around you, smile at you with their sweet flickering and say to you, 'Great are you, we give you glory forever and ever.' How the sea flows, and with its harmonious murmuring, like many silvery voices, says to you, 'Infinite thanks to our Creator.' And together with the sun, I embrace you and I kiss you. With the stars, I recognize you and I glorify you. With the sea, I thank you." But who can tell all that I was saying, calling all created things around Jesus? If I wanted to say everything, I would be too long. It seemed to me that each created thing had a distinct office to be able to pay its homage to its Creator. Now, while I was doing this, I thought I was losing time, and that was not the thanksgiving to be made for Jesus after communion. And I said this to Jesus. And he, all goodness, told me, "My daughter, my will contains everything, and nothing of all that belongs to me must escape one who lives in it. On the contrary, if only one thing escapes her, it is enough to say that she does not give me all the honor and the glory which my will contains. Therefore it cannot be said that her life is complete in it, nor does she give me the return of all that my will has given her. In fact, I have given everything to one who lives in my will, and I go to her as though in triumph, upon the wings of my work, to give her new return of my love. And she must come along the same path as mine, to give me new return of her love. Would it not be delightful for you if you had made many beautiful and various works, and someone who is loved by you placed them around you to please you, and showing them one by one said to you, 'See, these are your works. How beautiful this one is! How artistic is this other one!' What joy would you not experience? What glory for you! It is the same for me, more so since one who lives in my will, having to centralize everything within herself, must be like the heartbeat of all creation. And as all things palpitate in her by virtue of my will, she must form one single heartbeat, to return to me in that heartbeat the heartbeats of everyone and of everything, and to bring me back the glory and the love of all things which came from me. I must find all in the soul in whom my will reigns, so that, containing all, she may give me all that the others should give me. My daughter living in my will is very different from the other sanctities, and this is why, up until now, the way and the true teachings of living in it cannot be found. One can say that the other sanctities are the shadows of my divine life, while my will is the source of the divine life. Therefore be attentive in the exercises of living in my will, so that from you may come the true way and the exact and precise teachings for those who, wanting to live in it, may find not the shadow, but the true sanctity of the divine life. Furthermore, since my humanity on earth was in the divine will, there was no work, thought, word, and so forth, which was not enclosed in me, in order to cover all the works of the creatures. One can say that I had a thought for each thought, a word for each word, and so on with all the rest, to glorify my Father completely, and to give light, life, goods, remedies to the creatures. Now everything exists in my will, and one who must live in it must enclose all creatures, to go through all my acts again and place on them another beautiful divine shade, taken from my will to give me the return of all I did. Only one who lives in my will can give me this return, and I await her as the means to be able to put the divine will in communication with the human and to give her the goods it contains. I want the creature as an intermediary who, going through the same path which my humanity covered in my will, may open the door of the kingdom of my will, which had been closed by the human will. Therefore your mission is great, and it takes sacrifice and great attention. Then I felt immersed in the supreme volition, and Jesus continued, "My daughter, my will is everything and contains everything, and then it is the origin, the means, and the end of man. This is why, in creating him, I did not give him a law, nor did I institute sacraments, but I gave man my will alone, because it was sufficient for him, being in the origin of it, to find all the means to reach not a low sanctity, but the height of the divine sanctity, and therefore find himself at the harbor of his end. This means that man was to need nothing but my will, in which he was to find everything in a surprising, admirable, and easy way, to become holy and happy in time and eternity. And if I gave him a law after centuries and centuries of creation, it was because man had lost his origin, and so he had lost means and end. Therefore the law was not origin but means. But in seeing that with all of my law man was getting lost and coming upon earth, I instituted the sacraments as stronger and more powerful means to save him. But how many abuses, how many profanations, how many use the law and the very sacraments more to sin and to fall into hell, while with my will alone, which is origin, means, and end, the soul places herself in safety. She rises to divine sanctity. She reaches in a complete manner the purpose for which she was created, and there is no shadow of danger that she might offend me. Therefore the safest way is only my will. The very sacraments, if they are not received in order with my will, can serve as means of condemnation and of ruin. This is why I inculcate my will so much, because being the soul in her origin, the means will be favorable to her, and she will receive the fruits which they contain. On the other hand, without it, the sacraments themselves may be a poison to her, leading her to eternal death. June 10th, 1935, Volume 33. Rain of love that our Lord pours over creatures from within created things, and how he bilocates himself in her, and he sees himself matched in his love. I was doing my round in the acts of the divine will, but while I did this I felt rain over me, a rain of acts of love that my sweet Jesus made me. In fact, as I went around in the sun, in the sky, in the wind, and in all the other created things, so a multiplicity of acts of love rained over me. To be loved by God is the greatest of happinesses. It is the most beautiful glory that can be found in heaven and on earth. And I also felt the extreme need of loving him. And oh, how I would want to be Jesus himself in order to make, even I, my reign of love for him. But alas, I felt the great distance, because in him there are real works done. But I, poor little one, must make use of his works in order to tell him that I love him, such that all my love was reduced into will. And therefore I felt afflicted, because I did not love him as Jesus could love me. But while I thought this, my highest good Jesus, with an indescribable love and goodness, told me, "My blessed daughter, do not afflict yourself. Do you not know that I have the power to remedy everything, and to make the love of the creature match mine? When it's a question of her wanting to love me, I never render her discontent, because love is one of my passions. And do you know what I do in order to render content one who loves me? I bilocate myself, and I take a place in each created thing, and I reign love. Then I take a place in the creature, and I give her the virtue of letting her reign her love over me. The love that I have given her, she has made it hers, and with right she can give it to me as if it were hers, and I feel the contentment that she loves me as I have loved her. And although I know that it is mine, I do not pay attention to this. I am not stingy, but I pay attention to if in her will she wants to love me as I love her, and if she were able, she would do what I have done for her. This is enough for me, and I am content to be able to tell her, "You have loved me as I have loved you." Other than this, you must know that I created the whole universe in order to make a gift of it to creatures, and I remained in each created thing to reign love over them. Now, one who recognizes this gift as a great love that her Creator makes to her, the gift is hers. The reign of our love is hers. So giving it to us again with all her being, she loves us. We feel ourselves matched by the love of the creature, and conquered by her love, we give it again to her in order to find the continuous exchange of our and of her love. And if you only knew how much I am content by it, and my love remains wounded in hearing you repeat that you want to love me, and you love me in each created thing. You love me in my conception, in my birth, in every infantile tear. I feel it impearled for me with your love. Every suffering, in every drop of blood, I feel the life of your love. And I, for exchange to you, in everything that I did in my life down here, I do nothing other than form a reign of love for you. Oh, if you could see how much love I pour over you. It is such and so much that, taken by the ardor of my love itself, I embrace and I kiss my love in you. And in seeing that you feel my embraces and my kisses, how content I am by it. And I await yours, so as to be matched and reciprocated for such a love. So I continued my abandonment in the supreme volition, and going around in the extension of the sky that serves as pavement and footstool to the celestial fatherland, and as a vault to the wayfarers down here, that azure vault seemed to me that it did double duty. It served as sumptuous pavement to the blessed regions, and as royal vault to the wayfarers, uniting the one and the other together, in order to make that one would be the will and the love of everyone. Therefore, prostrating myself together with the sky, I called those up there and those on the earth to adore my Creator, prostrating ourselves all together so that one would be the adoration, the will, the love of all. So while I did this, my sweet Jesus added, "My daughter, the first duty of the creature is to adore He who has created her. The first act that says sanctity is duty. Duty calls the order, and order makes arise the most beautiful harmony between the Creator and the creature, harmony of will, harmony of love, of ways, and of imitation. Duty is the substance of sanctity, and since all created things possess and hold as naturally the imprint of true adoration, so the creature united with them can lend the most perfect adoration to He who has created her. Therefore, every created thing is one profound adoration that they send to He who has created them. And the creature, uniting herself to them in virtue of our volition, places them all in adoration, giving to God the duty of each one. And elevating herself over everyone, she brings everything to us, and comes to beat in our heartbeat, and to breathe in our breath. Oh, how sweet and welcome is this heartbeat and breath in ours! And we, in order to exchange her, we beat in her heart, and we breathe in her breath, giving her the divine heartbeat and breath as life, heritage, and growth of our supreme being in her. And here, to the duty of adoration rises the first duty of the act of the creature, to give life to her Creator in her own soul, to give Him the dominion, the freedom to form Himself, to palpitate and breathe, to fill her with love, in order to be able to say with deeds, "This creature is the bearer of her Creator, and she lets me do what I want." This is so true that I possess her heartbeat. She has nothing of hers. What is hers is mine, and what is mine is hers. I have my place of love in her, and she has her place of honor in me, such that heaven and earth give each other the kiss of peace and of permanent union. End of June 10th. Fiat.